Hello, this is News Now reaching you live from iBrand News Studio in Lagos. Coming up now, APC to hold National Convention February 26th. Senate President Ahmed Lawan gives assurances that the Senate will expedite action on the Electoral Act Amendment Bill. And CBN Governor hails farmers over the unveiling of the mega rice pyramid. Nigeria's federal government has expressed its resolve to launch another satellite through the Nigerian Communications Agency. Glad to have you join us. Here are some stories making the headlines at this hour. I am Mary Chinda. We begin now with the All Progressives Congress, which has announced that its national convention will hold on the 26th of February this year. Speaking at the Progressives Women Congress held in Abuja on Tuesday, the chairman caretaker Extraordinary Convention Planning Committee and Governor of Yobe State, May Mala Buni, disclosed that the date of the convention with other details of the convention will be made public in the coming days. Speaking at the Senate chambers on Tuesday while delivering a welcome address to the senators after the recess, Senate President Ahmed Lawan has given assurances that the Senate will expedite action on the Electoral Act Amendment Bill after concluding consultations on the response of President Muhammadu Buhari. iBrandTV's senior correspondent Ayiboje Ikwara has details.
The Senate, Ahmed Lawan, said the Senate postponed discussion on the consideration of the response to President Muhammadu Buhari on the Electoral Act Amendment Bill in December last year to enable the chamber to consult with its counterparts in the House of Representatives and their constituents respectively.
Distinguished colleagues, the Senate postponed discussions on the consideration of response of Mr. President on the Electoral Act 2010 Amendment Bill to enable us to consult with our counterparts in the House of Representatives and also consult our constituents. Like we all know, the Senate and indeed the National Assembly worked so hard on the bill. Having consulted, the Senate will expeditiously look into the issue.
Mr. Lawan said the Senate must continue to prioritize the security and welfare of citizens as enshrined in the Constitution while urging Nigerians not to despair as a result of security challenges confronting the nation.
Distinguished colleagues, the security situation in our country is still there. We must remain focused and determined to work with the executive arm of government and also continue to support our armed forces and security agencies. We must continue to prioritize the security and welfare of our citizens as enshrined in our Constitution. I urge us not to be discouraged by the situation. We should make this year as the year for the final securing of our nation from the numerous security challenges.
Ayiboje Ikwara, reporting for iBrandTV News.
Now, still staying on the National Assembly, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila, has disclosed that the Electoral Act Amendment Bill, which was rejected by President Muhammadu Buhari, will be reintroduced on Wednesday for a rework by the lawmakers. The President had in December rejected the bill, citing issues with direct primaries provision. Gbajabiamila, in his welcome address at the resumption of plenary on Tuesday, charted the argument that the lack of proper membership and registration of political parties was among the reasons why the bill should be rejected, stating that the credible electoral law is what the people want and that is what they will get. The Speaker also assured Nigerians that the lawmakers will prioritize action to pass the constitutional amendment bill. And moving on now, a coalition of civil society groups in the country are calling on the National Assembly to, as a matter of urgency, review the amended version of the Electoral Act, which was refused accent by President Muhammadu Buhari, and remove all contentious clauses. iBrandTV senior correspondent Ayiboje Ikwara reports.
As the federal lawmakers resumed after Christmas and New Year break, one issue they will be facing is the rejected amended Electoral Act. These civil society groups have tasked the National Assembly on the Electoral Bill 2021 and the need for them to prioritize the review of the bill with dispatch.
Further delay to the conclusion of the electoral amendment process is inimical to the preparations for Ekiti, Osun, and 2023 elections. The opportunity to test the operability of the new legislation and its latest innovations would be lost if the amendment process remains inconclusive. The leadership of the National Assembly should honor their commitment to conclude this process as soon as the National Assembly resumes. We therefore urge the National Assembly to leverage this opportunity to salvage the electoral bill by taking prompt legislative actions to conclude the amendment process. Any further delay will undermine public confidence in the electoral reform process.
The Senate and House of Representatives should, upon resumption on Tuesday, January 18, 2022, take legislative action at its first sitting to conclude the process and retransmit the bill to President Buhari by Friday, January 21, 2022.
The civil society group said that their town hall meeting served as an opportunity to inform the public on key provisions in the bill and how it will enhance future elections. Igboji Warrior, reporting for iBrandTV News.
Now, the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele, has lauded the courage and resilience of smallholder farmers for achieving the single largest rice pyramid ever assembled in Nigeria's history. Emefiele said this on Tuesday during the unveiling of bags of rice paddy numbering 1 million stacked as pyramids in Abuja, the nation's capital. Emefiele praised the resilience of the farmers despite the challenges of the past few years, including insurgency, banditry, among other security challenges. The mega pyramids being launched represents aggregated paddy rice submitted as repayment of loans by the Rice Farmers Association of Nigeria, RIFAN, under the 2020 dry season and 2021 wet seasons. The Anchor Borrowers Program of the CBN was launched in November 2015, first in Kebbi State, to bring relief to farmers and impact the value chain of different crops in Nigeria. The program has also improved the national output to 9.5 million metric tons in quality rice, making Nigeria the largest food producer in Africa, and also saving Nigeria foreign exchange and preserving it. Nigeria's federal government has expressed its resolve to launch another satellite through the National Communications Satellite, NACOMSAT, before the end of the year. The Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, Issa Pantami, stated this during the briefing of journalists on Monday during the tour of facilities at the agency's base in Abuja. Pantami stated the need for the agency to provide quality service and generate good revenue for it not to be considered for privatization again. The Director General, NACOMSAT, Abimbola Alike, appreciated the Minister for his immense support and assured him of the agency's readiness to deliver quality service and generate revenue to justify his efforts at revitalizing the agency. Now, the federal government has revealed its plan of injecting 10 million cylinders of petroleum liquefied gas into circulation nationwide to increase access to the commodity. The managing director of the Nigeria Liquefied Petroleum Gas, LPG, Alhaji Musa Ibrahim, made this known during a two-day sensitization workshop in Bauchi on Tuesday. He said the cylinders would be distributed nationwide through registered marketers, saying the government would establish micro-sales and distribution centers for the cylinders. Also speaking at the event, the senior special assistant to the vice president on LPG, Dayo Additional, urged the people of Bauchi to embrace the use of the LPG in their households. He explained that the federal government is considering the possibility of increasing access to the commodity by reducing the high cost of the LPG to expand affordability. The Minister of Interior, Obeni Rauf Arabashola, has ordered officials of the Nigerian Correctional Service, NCOS, to shoot dead anyone who attempts to attack prison facilities across the country. He gave the directive while addressing senior officers at the Agudi Custodial Center during the inspection of the newly built maximum facility at the Olomi Olojore area of Ibadan, the Oyo State capital.
We have 4 facilities in this state. We have the 128 years old Agodi maximum custodial facility. It's one of the oldest in Nigeria, 1894. Less than a third, or about a third of the inmates there are convicts. The remaining 2/3 are waiting trial inmates who will spend a maximum of 1 year, 12 months, were he to be convicted for the crime he committed. Is there now spending 4 years? 1, we are violating his rights. 2, we are putting unnecessary costs on the government. This has been partly completed. It's about 4 or 5 years ago. As it is today, this center can take 800 inmates. So I've directed the authorities of the correctional service to make this place operational by the end of next month.
Now still to come, 7 dead in crackdown on anti-coup rallies in Sudan. Details and more news updates after this commercial break. Now, on the foreign scene, Kenya's Supreme Court on Tuesday began hearing a controversial constitutional review bill that has been at the heart of politics for several years in the East African country, known as the Building Bridges Initiatives, BBI. This revision plans to create new positions in the executive, a prime minister, 2 deputy prime ministers and an opposition leader, and to increase the number of parliamentarians from 290 to 360. According to the outgoing President Uhuru Kenyatta, who initiated the project, this opening up of power would dilute the winner-take-all rule, which he considers to be the cause of post-election conflicts in Kenya. The bill, which was passed by the parliament in May and was to be put to a referendum, was taken to court by its critics. There was the first hearing, and then a court of appeal ruled that the president did not have the constitutional right to initiate such a project. The court also ruled that Kenyatta could be sued in a civil court for illegally initiating the process. The hearing in the Supreme Court are scheduled to continue until Thursday. The judges will then announce the date of their decisions. Analysts say that even if the Supreme Court rules in favor of the government and allows the law to be put to a referendum, it cannot be held before the elections scheduled to hold in August 9 this year. Protest organizers in Sudan's capital, Khartoum, announced 2 days of strikes and civil disobedience after security forces used gunfire and tear gas on Monday to disperse demonstrations against a coup, and medics said 7 persons have been killed. The toll marked one of the bloodiest days since pro-democracy groups began a campaign of anti-military protests following the October 25th coup and threatened to deepen the gulf between the military leaders and a large protest movement. Security forces fired volleys of tear gases as they blocked thousands of protesters from advancing on Khartoum's presidential palace, and several injured civilians could be seen bleeding heavily in the street. The Central Committee of Sudanese Doctors, a group of medics aligned with the protest movement, disclosed the government forces also used live ammunition and stone grenades. Several protesters are being treated for injuries at the Khartoum hospital. Medics say at least 70 persons have been killed by security forces since the coup. And we have some foreign news starting off from the U.S., where President Joe Biden's Democrats will bring their push to protect U.S. voting rights to the floor of the Senate this week, where it is roundly expected to fail in the face of united Republican opposition. The vote, which could come in days or weeks, may be the last chance for Biden to secure a new federal law to counter an onslaught of state limits to pose access before Republicans possibly capture one or both houses of Congress in elections in November. As other elements of his domestic agenda stall on the Capitol House, the Democratic president has called the vote of a significant moment for a U.S. democracy facing crisis. If votes fail, the Senate could agree a narrower compromise over vote counting procedures, as some Republicans say they would like to avoid a repeat of the chaos that followed the 2020 U.S. presidential election. Some aspects of the legislation to be debated include expanding access to mail-in voting, tightening campaign finance rules, and strengthening federal oversight to elections in states that have a history of racial discrimination. Now, away from the U.S., a preliminary study in Israel has revealed that a fourth shot of the COVID-19 vaccine boosts antibodies to even higher levels than the third jab, but it is not enough to prevent Omicron infections. Israel's Sheba Medical Center has given second booster shots in a trial among its staff and is studying the effect of the Pfizer booster in 154 persons after 2 weeks and the Moderna booster in 120 persons after a week. These were compared to a control group that did not receive the fourth shot. Those in the Moderna group had previously received 3 shots of Pfizer vaccines, the hospital said. The findings, which the hospital said were the first of its kind in the world, were preliminary and not yet published. Israel was the fastest country to roll out initial vaccinations against COVID-19 a year ago, and last month started offering a fourth shot and a second booster to the vulnerable and high-risk groups. Now, up next is business news.
Hello and welcome to Business News. I am Omobolanle Adeshui, and here are the stories we're tracking at the moment. Nigeria is producing far less oil than it did 25 years ago, when the estimated population was much less than what it is today, and government spending was far below what it is in 2022. A comparison of the country's average oil production per day in 1997, as indicated in the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation NNPC yearly statistical bulletin, showed that while Nigeria pumped 2.34 million barrels per day plus condensate over 2.5 decades ago, it can hardly produce 1.4 million as of this year. This could, however, rise to 1.7 million barrels per day if the current condensate production of about 300,000 barrels to 400,000 barrels are added to the between 1.3 million to 1.4 barrels per day currently being pumped. Furthermore, while 26 rigs were in operation on both onshore and offshore terrains in 1997, Nigeria at present has about 12 active oil rigs, with about half of them not in use. A Chinese company, Chinese Civil Engineering Construction Corporation, CCECC, has handled the majority of railway projects in Nigeria worth over $25.5 billion, according to the United States-based Fitch Solutions' latest report on Nigeria railway system. The report, titled Nigeria Rail, Near-Term Focus on Northern Region with Long-Term Upside for Southern Projects, said Chinese financing had supported CCECC to handle most rail projects in the country. The report, however, listed other companies that are major players in the Nigerian railway sector. The breakdown of the top rail projects handled by CCECC shows that the approved Lagos-Calabar Coastal Railway project, covering 1,402 kilometers, was awarded to the Chinese company for $11.1 billion. Also, the Abuja-Itakpe-Warri Rail Line project, with a contract value of $3.9 billion, sponsored by China Railway Construction Corporation and Exim Bank of China, was awarded to CCECC, Julius Berger, and Sino Hydro Corporation, another Chinese company, alongside General Electric. The National Bureau of Statistics, NBS, disclosed on Monday that Nigeria's headline inflation rate rose to 15.36% in December 2021. Earlier data from the NBS showed that headline inflation had maintained a consecutive decline for a period of 8 months, from April to November 2021. However, the trend was broken in December when the inflation climbed by 0.23 points to 16.63% from 15.5% recorded in November. The Statistician General of the Federation, Simon Harry, on Monday during the press briefing in Abuja, said the trend clearly shows an increase from 15.4% recorded in the month of November 2021 to 15.63% in December 2021. He, however, noted that the development was a decline when compared to the corresponding month in 2020, which recorded 15.75%. He added that the change in the declining trend might have been caused by the increase in prices of goods and services, driven by increased demand during the month under review, which was a festive season. And Budget Nigeria, a civic tech organization, on Monday announced its discovery of 460 duplicated projects valued at 378.9 billion naira in the 2022 Appropriation Act, accusing the National Assembly of padding the federal government's budget, among other allegations. The organization called on the citizen civil society organizations, the private sector, and the international community to urgently prevail on the National Assembly and Presidency to urgently amend and eliminate the loopholes in federal government's 2022 approved budget. It raised the alarm in a statement signed by its communications associate, Iyanu Fatoba, and issued via its Twitter handle. Budget said, quote, "Our preliminary analysis of the 21,108 capital projects in the 2022 approved budget revealed 460 duplicated projects amounting to 378.9 billion naira," end of quote. Recall that budget observed 316 duplicated projects inserted into the 2021 federal government budget approved by the National Assembly. The Infrastructure Concession Regulatory Commission, ICRC, and the Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria, FAN, have collaborated to upgrade the security system at the car park of the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, Lagos, following the recent report of security lapses at the facility. The Acting Director General, ICRC, Mr. Michael Ohiani, made this known after a facility tour of the nation's flagship airport. There had been reports of security breaches at the car park in recent times. Vehicles parked at the facility were reportedly vandalized. A statement signed by the acting head, Media and Publicity, ICRC, Manji Yarling, noted the DG has saying that the assessment was carried out to provide solutions to the security challenges being faced by airport users at the car park. The The statement clarified that only one of the reported cases had been confirmed and adequately compensated for stolen vehicles' accessories. And on the African scene, the United Arab Emirates has vowed to retaliate against Houthi militants for a deadly attack in its capital, Abu Dhabi, on Monday that killed 3 people, as fresh tensions in the region helped push oil prices to their highest level in 7 years. International benchmark Brent crude futures rose 1.6% to $87.89 a barrel on Tuesday morning, while U.S. West Texas Intermediate futures jumped more than 2% to hit $85.56 during early morning deals. Both oil contracts notched their highest level since October 2014 after a subdued trading day on Monday as U.S. markets were closed for a public holiday. Energy analysts have attributed oil's bullish run over recent weeks to signs of tightness in the market and persistent worries of a Russian incursion into Ukraine. The rising threat of a further deterioration in the Middle East security climate has provided further support to oil prices, prompting some of the forecasts a return to triple digits. And moving on to the foreign scene, proven oil reserves in the United States slipped 19% over the course of 2020, from 44.2 billion barrels to 35.8 billion barrels, according to fresh data from the Energy Information Administration, EIA. The new EIA data shows that throughout 2020, just 3 billion barrels of proven crude oil reserves were discovered in the United States, with 1.2 billion barrels gained through adjustment, sales, and acquisitions. About 8.8 billion barrels of approved reserves were lost due to net revisions, and 3.8 billion barrels were used up through the production of crude oil. The net change, according to the EIA, is 8.4 billion barrels for a total loss of 19%. Previous EIA data showed that the loss of 8.4 billion barrels is the largest loss of proven reserves since at least 2010. And that's it from the business desk. I am Omobolanle Adeshui. Many thanks for watching.
And from that business news, we will be signing out on the news on this hour. Do well to follow us across all of our social media platforms, from YouTube to Instagram and Facebook, for more news updates. My name is Mary Shinga.